Okay. We're live. We're coming through, I think. How you doing, Jake?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I mean, I guess it's kind of the start off to the long weekend, so to speak. Which at least up here it's the long weekend, which I think is weird because we have like Victoria Day, and it's usually like the May 2-4 weekend. And according to my calendar, that's a week today is the May 2-4 weekend. But according to all the holiday stores and government office and stuff, it's like no, we're gonna do it this weekend. It's like, well, that doesn't line up with the May 2-4 weekend at all. We're
Oh, is it Monday?
yeah,
Monday's
it's
your.
gonna be a Monday, yeah. So they
So what's Victoria Day?
it's Victoria Day. It kind of falls in line similar to like Memorial Day for you guys.
Oh, okay.
But not always does it in sync, and usually it always lands on the weekend that's closest to the 24th. Because then we have the
Yeah.
May 2-4, which is what you do. You go to the beer store, you get a case of 24 beers, and you go out and have a barbecue for the weekend. And bring in, celebrate Victoria Day, or for our American friends, you celebrate Memorial Day. And they're having it a bit earlier. I mean, they frequently kind of have it a bit earlier up here for the last few years, even though it's been like so close. Where even there's like, the 24th is a Monday, and you're like, oh, that should be the holiday Monday. Nope, nah, it's gonna be it's gonna be
Week
the
before.
17th again or something. You're like, ah. So it's all weird. It's all fun, but I'm happy to have you here. How have you been, sir?
I've been really good. I've been really good. Just plugging away. How have you
Plugging
been?
away. Yep. Yeah, I'm happy to have you back on the live side of things because we've done a couple of recorded shows. In fact, you joined me on the bonus episode that will be dropping, oddly enough, in a few weeks. I've been trying to get it out, squeeze it out in the right time frame for people,
Yeah.
but it's been a little bit tricky because it's like, oh, I've got a really heavy week here. I just don't have enough time to like be able to follow up with the comments on that. So I gotta push it off so I can make sure I can give it the attention I need. But now we got you back here live. It's not really much of a different format at all. So yeah, I'm glad to have you here for that. Um, so yeah, we've got an interesting script today. So let's kind of get right to it. Welcome to Scripts on Saturdays, the only screenplay review show on the interwebs discussing scripts both professional and amateur, circulating around Hollywood, giving you, the TV and movie-going audience, a behind-the-scenes and inside track on what writers are pushing and what producers are buying. I am your host, the Script Doctor, and joining me this week is returning co-host champion of sorts, Jake from 52 Movies a Year. Glad to have you with us, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Anytime.
Oh, yeah.
Glad to be here.
So this week's script contained thriller titled Ride or Die, and it placed number 64 on the 2024 blacklist with 10 votes. It's written by Alexander Vargas, which sounds like a familiar name. I think we've reviewed a script of his before. It's just escaping me at the moment. The log line for this week's script is that a debt-ridden Peloton instructor finds his entire class held hostage by a bomber during one of his live-in studio classes. Jake, please share with us the synopsis for Ride or Die.
Okay. Jamie Dunn, a charismatic fitness instructor at Spin Studio, craves fame and redemption from his addiction-riddled past. He wants to inspire millions while hiding his flaws behind a perfect facade. But when a hacker traps him and his class in a high-stakes hostage crisis, exposing his darkest secrets, Jamie must confront his lies or lose everything.
Ooh, all right. So that's our premise. We're watching or we're reading about a script that takes place inside a Peloton class where people, I guess, they see the instructor in person, but it's also being broadcast on like a live streaming platform that you subscribe to as well. Um, what were your initial thoughts on this script, Jake?
I actually like that. I could picture. I pictured, what, how will they get? It hooked me right away.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of it, and I thought, okay, just off that, I'd be interested to read and see this. Um, Mostly to know how, What would keep him there? What would the threat be?
What would the threat be? How does it work? I will say this: the opening uh, reminded me of like a lot of '80s films because it's focused on like the churning of the wheel, lightning fast, a logo of the brand name. Um, it's like when you see those '80s films where you see like the exercising, like you have a bunch of people at a gym or they're at a dance studio or something, and you got kind of like that montage thing with the music and opening credits, and they're all dancing and we're working out really hard, and there's like Push It to the Limit is playing in the background or something like that. The script kind of opens up with that type of feel, but it's more onto okay, it's you've got all your high tech gear all around, like your 21-inch full HD 4K touchscreens and TVs and cameras, Bluetooth. You've got these like futuristic bikes where you kind of strap your feet into the pedals, all that type of stuff. And this is how we're introduced to our main characters. Like his name is Jamie Dunn. Sorry. He's that type of guy who's described as he's over 6 feet with under 6% body fat, and he lives I liked how they suggest that he lives a lavish lifestyle because he starts every week with a new haircut. Like he can afford to get his haircut once a week every week, which I thought that seems a little excessive because that's like your hair barely grows over the course of a week.
Really, not much to cut.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I thought was quite clever about this, and that is the writer frames his relationships based on the relationship and not trying to sort of showcase it, because Jamie is a homosexual in this script. He broke up with his boyfriend who was about to propose to him, and it's treated just like any other, like how you would normally see any type of other relationship where, you know, there's a falling out. It has nothing to do with like sexuality. There's no politics behind it. It's just Jamie has a fear of commitment or something else is going on with him, and he had a bad breakup, and he's bearing it down, and then he's using his charm and charisma to help kind of motivate the people who ride and participate in his online courses at this company called Spins. And I thought it was kind of refreshing because it felt more authentic. It's like, okay, yeah, I believe this. I believe this type of guy. I believe his lifestyle. I like the fact that he's not talking about how he's oppressed because he's gay or anything of that nature. A lot of his problems stem from his own habits, his bad habits that have nothing to do with his romances. And I thought, okay, cool. Like, this guy's treating this situation professionally. He's leaning onto what some producer would probably say, like, oh, let's explore this area of culture, and instead of making that the anchor point, he's made it the sort of like the parsley that you add to the dish, because the anchor point in this script is the hostage situation, and he makes sure that we never forget that.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point, because you kind of see suggestions of, let's make some character this,
right,
in many situations, and here it's just a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And where it's popular to make someone a victim, his victim, what he struggles with is a result of his own conditions and his choices, not
anything else on. Yeah, it has
society.
Nothing. Yeah, like society's
Perspective.
Exactly, like society's not targeting him as like, oh, he's a gay Peloton driver, we're gonna start doing hate mobs at him. It's like, no, it's the exact opposite. In fact, I don't even think he's publicly out, because he's got women that throw themselves at him, and he adores them. He treats them nice. He's like, okay, you got my attention for a bit, but I have all these other people I got to meet, so thank you so much. And he calls them like boo or something. So I mean, he's kind of like on the fence, where he's like, he's not really hiding himself, but he's not really in the closet. He's just, it's not a factor, so to speak. But he's really popular. He's got adoring fans. They come to this building that's owned by Spins, and it's a super, like, they describe it like an Apple Tech Watch building combined with a gym. And this is their big show that they're doing, and Jamie is all like hyped up, like he does a morning spin, and then he's done, and he's got his buddy who's named Kyle. He's the director, so he directs the live stream that this goes through. And one of the things I enjoyed is that almost every character that we are introduced to, with very few exceptions, kind of has their own goals, and they're very simple goals. You have Jamie Dunn. He's wanting to put on a good show, and we find out that he's constantly getting called, and he's trying to silence these calls from essentially a loan shark.
Yeah.
Then you have his boss named Sid Serling, which is try to say that name 5 times fast. He's the type of guy who, yeah, he's got a bunch of investors into spins. He's always looking at the stock market price. They've got something new on the horizon that Jamie has to talk about at minute 15 within the half-hour spin class, to try and like boost subscribers and donations and all those types of things. So there's a whole streaming angle to this as well, and then you've got Kyle, who's the director of the show, and Kyle doesn't want to be a director of these like spin sessions. He's actually trying to convince Jamie to sign on to a screenplay that he's writing about spies, because Jamie is we find out that Jamie is an actor who kind of just fell into doing spin classes, to pay the bills. And so I thought we had like a pretty cool dynamic here. And then of course we have Melissa, who is like kind of like an intern or like like a junior coordinator of sort, like a gopher. I wanted to get your thoughts on this particular character, Jake, because I thought she was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I thought she was interesting. She kind of fit into like a cliche assistant where first week, you'd look at them, and as they're being described even before they would say anything, oh, this is this person's either first day or first week,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of get the humor from that, like a subtle little chuckle, like, oh, okay, well, what's, this person's going to be not a fish out of water, but everybody's punching back, always behind, earnest, and trying to please everyone. And so, you've seen those characters before, but the way it was described didn't feel like a copy of anything. It just felt like something that would naturally fit into this environment.
Yeah, to this environment, because she's the type of character where for the first like 10, 15 minutes of a movie, the assistant always comes up and then says a couple of short words to the owner or what have you, and then they're going away. They're always on their like on their iPad or what have you. Kind of like, I guess the most recent example would be the assistant to Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character in Thunderbolts. Like, Melissa's in that position, but fortunately she's not relegated to just that position. She actually has a more prominent role throughout the story as it escalates.
Yeah, and everybody gets her name wrong.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cliche, but it's funny too if it's done, You do. Mm-hmm. The new person, you don't even bother to remember their name because you don't know if they're going to stick around.
Yeah. And we get this, and we get this kind of countdown going on into the script, because on the very first page, before we even get into this stuff, it says this script takes place in real time, and it's basically a 90 page script of sorts. So it's saying, okay, this is going to be a 90-minute movie, and yeah, we kind of get hit with the characters pretty quick, but it's not like last week's script where there are just a ton of characters just back to back to back to back to back being introduced. We're getting that type of David E. Kelly, Aaron Sorkin kind of flowing introductions where we're focused on Jamie in every single scene, and we're seeing the people that he interacts with, so that we can learn who these characters are. And I felt this was pretty good because our focus is always on Jamie at this point. We learned some pretty interesting hints about him when he's talking to his fans and when he's talking to his crew. Like, for instance, that he used to be an actor, and now he's just relegated to a spin doctor of sorts. We know that he has tons of adoring fans. We know that people wait in line to participate in his classes in person as opposed to just being online. We have this one character named Dad Fan, who he's a fan of Jamie, but he's also a father, and he's like in his 40s or 50s, and he is used quite effectively because he's the type of guy who says, yeah, I can relate to you, Jamie, I too, am in recovery. And you're like, oh, cool. That's an interesting way to tell the audience that Jamie's a recovering addict, without it being so on the nose. Like, you don't have him like in a meeting. You don't have him calling a sponsor or anything of that nature. You have a person that idolizes him, that wants to kind of build a closer relationship, by saying, like, I can relate to you more than any other fan because I too went through this time, and your classes, as they helped you sober up, have also helped me sober up. And it's done in a very quick, subtle way, but it's also peppered around something that you brought up in the earlier, before the show, which I want to give you the floor on because you made notes on this, and that is the cliches.
Yeah, there was a lot of cliches, and for good and for bad. When they were describing and setting up the description of the Spins class and talking to Sid Serling, and he's getting interviewed, references to Amazon, Netflix, Google, Facebook,
TikTok, Twitter.
Facebook, Twitter. There was over 30, like, I would call them, I guess, cliche references. We could, they pepper in at different parts of the script, but for me, sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know. It's kind of, it depends on how it comes across on screen. They mentioned lockdowns. That was one of the things we were talking about. Jamie and Sid were in front of the press, and the press is, they look friends while they're being interviewed, and then behind the scenes you can see that Sid's got some issues with him, and Jamie's kind of just not taking him serious, and he kind of insulting him, saying, "Hey, you were just a fan of the lockdowns, and you wish gyms hadn't reopened."
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting because it could be done in such a way that felt heavy-handed, like, oh, we need to mention these things if they're not done correctly. And so, but they also set up so much of the personality. We all can relate to the lockdown. We all know how we felt. And then for him to suggest to Serling, well, you wish gyms hadn't opened up. And he kind of is like, yeah, I know. I mean, he just wanted to keep selling his subscriptions.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an interesting thing, but it's peppered through the whole script. And Dad Fan is, he's a cliche of just a fan who wants to be there and support his favorite creator or even instructor, or any
his social media personality, which is essentially what Jamie is. Yeah.
But it does such a good way of humanizing him, and he doesn't just disappear.
Right.
He's used again, and even referenced with such little dialogue. You still get such, so much about him, and he's so distinct from just another person in the class.
Yeah, Dad Fan stands out. Then there's also this other character named Melissa, who she's like an e-thought, but focused primarily on, not Melissa, Brooke.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brooke. Yeah. She's the e-thought. Thank you.
Yeah.
She's the e-thought who does a lot of streaming and stuff, and most of her streaming is her on the Peloton bike watching Jamie. So she's like stream sniping him of sorts.
Stream sniping, yeah, I like that.
Which I thought was kind of funny, but she's also a legitimate fan of his as well, to the point where she gets a little bit too close to him, and he's just like, okay, cool your jets there, boo, of sorts.
Consent is hot.
Yeah.
That was another one of my references I wrote down, because there's so many of these real world things that if you watch any, memes or any social media or anything, you hear all of these, and they something that just keep popping up throughout all social media. So when someone says something like that, you know exactly what it refers to. But yet it didn't make her particularly ditzy. She got the reference and backed off. She was just being enthusiastic and promoting herself.
oh, yeah, because she's like, oh, I want to stream it. Hey, everybody, can you give me a shout out during the show or during the lesson? He's like, yeah, sure, whatever. That's all cool. And then she gets so giddy and happy, and he's just like, okay, you're encroaching my personal space at this point. But it was a fun, kind of charming thing because it showed this type of guy who he knows that his audience is what affords him his lifestyle. And we also have learned almost at this point that he's in a lot of debt. He owes something to the mob, perhaps. We're not exactly sure why or how that is the case, but it's a lot of money. And he knows that not to, bite the hand that feeds you, so to speak. And this is all happening at the same time that Serling is telling Jamie that they had like a licensing lawsuit that nearly crippled the company. And so they're trying to get their revenue back up. They have some new tech that they're going to release that Jamie has to talk about. And if Jamie doesn't do anything of this, like Serling's going to basically like fire him.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you think about that? Like where they reference something, but it's in a contained script that they reference something that happened in the past to set up like tension, but don't need to really explain it. Do you feel like you miss out on that? Like it's a weak point, or it's just if you dipped into it?
Yeah.
Because I had like, what would possibly be the licensing?
Yeah, because there's something very interesting about that. And I mean, it's kind of implied that the licensing issue might have to do with like the music that they use during their shows to try and keep people motivated. And
okay,
that's how that's the best I can suspect at this point. Because when you have something like, oh, this licensing lawsuit has crippled us, and we need this day to go well in order for us to, recover, you're teasing a rabbit hole that could be a lot of fun. That doesn't necessarily have to be too deep, but it'd be nice if we got just a little bit more of it to realize, like, oh, okay, because at some point there's various songs that are used throughout the script that are not necessarily, they're put there by the writer, but they're not done there as like an editing thing where the people in the room don't hear the song. Like, no, the song is playing and these characters are hearing the song. So, and there's a point to it. And I think that they said that, oh yeah, we had a licensing lawsuit because we were using songs that we didn't pay the license to use for our live streaming shows. And
yeah, and then that's a very real world problem.
And that's a real world problem. And if that was something that was then used again in the second act, we could see, oh, okay, so we have that compromise that has already been resolved has now returned again. So now we have this conflict where the hostage situation, the hostage taker or the hacker in this case is playing music on a live stream on a channel through a subscription service that it's not authorized to play, which means that the person who owns that song is probably going to sue for infringement or strike the stream down or what have you. And then this company, which just got out of a lawsuit, is now rolled back into another one. So that would have been a bit more helpful with the clarity on that.
Okay. Yeah.
But I still think it gives us stakes, at least for Serling as a character who's like, okay, yeah, this company is in the failing.
Yeah.
This is the basic reason as to why. That's all you really need at this point.
Yeah, it's just a small ask to just accept it and move on.
It is. I would prefer just one little caveat. It's like, okay, license and how? Like, are they using like someone else's bikes and they're just putting their stamp on them? And
that's what I was wondering if. Yeah. Right.
Or is it music, or is it something else? Was Jamie wearing products like a Reebok or a Nike shirt that both Reebok, that the company that made it, was not too happy of, because it looks like they're endorsing this Spins company when in fact they're not. So those things, all of those stuff would be interesting to explore very quickly. But unfortunately, we don't get that. We kind of get right into the conflict. Within the first 10 pages, we get this guy in a hoodie who's kind of hiding up his face and whatnot. And he checks in under the name of Hunter Dunn. So we think, okay, he might be a relative of Jamie's, but he claims he's not. And unfortunately so. He's specific to that. And he just kind of, heads into the men's locker room, finds an empty locker, tosses a bag inside. Dad Fan kind of introduces himself to Hoodie, talks about how he's got like 2,000 rides and nothing beats a live studio lesson. And the Hoodie guy's like, just get away from me type of thing.
Just want to disappear.
Yeah. And so, yeah, he just kind of walks away and gets out of the lobby while everybody else is kind of filtering in for the class. And what we find out is that the bag that he put into the locker, some smoke starts to emanate out of this very, very slowly. And this is only a few minutes before they start the class. And Jamie is, of course, freaking out because he hasn't finished his full routine yet. We find out that he takes some various medications that are not necessarily narcotics, but they're like right up onto the edge of them. And he's sorting through like the control room, but he's also kind of causing a little bit of chaos there. He like drops some pencils and stuff, and he quickly jumps to the ground to pick them all up and then try and fix them up and put it as it was and play it off like, oh, he's just the klutz or what have you, because he's all thumbs and all nervous for the big show or what have you. Like there's a lot of things being thrown at the reader in this moment, right?
You're kind of messing with the other instructor, and you're just
that Eric guy with the massive man bun. But yeah, like then he gets into his he's taking a little bit too long to prep for everything, and so this is where Kyle leans on Melissa and says, "Okay, go out to the class and entertain them until Jamie gets in." And we got this 5-minute countdown, and we're like 5 minutes, then it's like 4 minutes, then it's 3 minutes 30 seconds, 2 minutes 30 seconds, 1 minute 30 seconds, then 5 seconds, and Melissa's doing a good job. She's like telling everybody the rules, how this is gonna go. Does all the breakdown for us, and then literally as once she's finished and they're rolling like the intro clips of all the stuff that Jamie says to kind of encourage people up, Jamie manages to jump right into the class right on time to greet everybody, and then we find out that not only is he charming, he does have a sailor's mouth on him as well.
Yeah, and that's part of that they like a bit.
Yeah, it's they like this stuff where he's kind of going hard and mean. He's talking about how, like, every ride is one thing closer to you being a better you. He's really on brand for like Spins and what it is, and it's pretty kind of intense, but you can also see why people like you, or like Jamie, and we dig it because he's an empathetic guy. We get little hints here that he kind of helped his sister out in a tough time, so that she got her life on track. And he's kind of disappointed that he's not allowed to see his nephews. And that has to do with the fact that his sister it's implied that his sister is the reason why he became an addict in the first place. And why he's been in recovery for all this time. And so you see some complications there. But he pushes that all aside and then he starts focusing just on his audience and making sure everything is pretty good, because he talks about like nobody survived the global pandemic, all your bad days, whatever, just sitting on your butt. Movement with Spins is the medicine, and this is the type of medicine we're gonna dish to you. This is what's gonna cure what ails you, that type of stuff. We get a basic rundown of the bikes. So we have like there's a knob in front of you that does your resistance, so how heavy you have to pedal, and then you got the other one, the cadence, which I think is like the angle of the bike, so you're going uphill or downhill type of thing. And he's playing around with that, and it's interesting that they do this because the screenwriter frames the resistance and cadence stuff in bold every time it has to change for the exercise. And right as they're getting kind of underway, there's people are freaking out in the men's locker room because they think there's a fire there. And instead of calling the fire department, Kyle and Sid tell Melissa, go find a fire extinguisher and put it out. We can't interrupt the show.
And Serling's like, fix it. or you'll be fired before Jamie breaks a sweat.
Yeah.
Just kind of playing into the whole cliche of boss kicking around the assistant and the poor assistant going, I've got to solve this by myself.
Yeah.
Everybody wants me to, and I have no idea what to do.
Oh, I thought it was pretty funny because now we follow Melissa while Jamie is, yelling at his fans to keep up the pace. And he's doing shout outs too. He's talking like, yeah, happy, way to go, Dad fan, happy 2000. And Brooke, Shell, Bombshell, happy 1000, you badass bee. He's doing all these cool things. All while Melissa is going from room to room looking for a freaking fire extinguisher. That should be pretty much easy to spot almost in anywhere if this. In this type of building.
Yeah, there's definitely in the control room.
Yeah. Like
all that
there should be one in the control room. There should be one by every elevator. There should be one by every stairwell. All the places that she's looking, there's no fire extinguisher, which I thought was a kind of a very subtle way to show that this company, as lavish as it tries to present itself, really is cutting a ton of corners. So much so that they throw out a protester who claims if you subscribe to Spins, they're actually gathering all your data and selling it to the highest bidder. And of course, Sid is denying that is the case. But I mean, come on, we all know they're doing that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you're sharing your information with your instructor and wanting the shout outs, and you're interacting.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who's been around any social media knows that the device you're on is transmitting everything you have.
Yeah, everything that it can get from you, it's sending out to the rest of the world, right?
Yeah.
But eventually she finds it underneath a kitchen sink in a common area, and she makes her way into the men's locker room, and all there is smoke. There's no heat, there's nothing. But she finds the locker, and she has this comic scene where she's trying to put it out with the fire extinguisher, and she's never used this device before, so obviously the end of the hose is whipping around kind of crazy. But when she opens up the locker and she sees the bag, and she sees that, it's just a smoke bomb inside, it's nothing, it's not dangerous in any way, but she thinks it's kind of weird. And so she grabs it, and as she heads back to the control room, Jamie's display screen on his Peloton that gives him all the usernames and some of their details so that he can interact with them, glitches out, and then all of a sudden words come across pretty much saying if you don't do what I need you to do, this is going to go bad, because I think the first words are good morning, class, how are y'all today? And Kyle, as the director, is trying to figure out what's going on here, because this isn't part of the scripted part of the show, and he realizes that they've been hacked, and one camera can't change its a zoom or focal length or anything of that nature. It's kind of locked into this one shot, and all the other cameras they have control over except for this one. And at first Jamie is okay, this is a gag, whatever, keep going, what have you. And then this text message says don't ignore me, and then it of course does another cliche reference. It quotes Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones, because it says, allow me to introduce myself, I'm a man of wealth and taste. And then it basically says, yep, nobody can leave until we finish. I thought I had to set off my little bomb. And everybody kind of gets all freaked out. And on top of that, every single Peloton bike, the electronic straps on the pedals, locks people's feet in place. So now they can't get off the bikes. And basically everybody is okay, this is what's going to happen. Jamie, you're going to maintain your enthusiasm, and you're going to promise, and you're going to, do what I tell you to. And if you make any promises that I know you can't keep, things are going to go bad. and we're off in the races. And this is where the speakers kind of start doing the Rick Astley's never going to give you up part, another cliche that you pointed out. But it's all designed to kind of torture everybody and showcase that this hacker, this terrorist that has taken over this building, is really in control. So I wanted to get like, okay, how did you like this type of setup for the contained thriller part, Jake?
Yeah, I like that because all that had happened by 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that seemed perfect to me. Your little adder, if they had maybe at this point added some music,
Mm-hmm.
it was, and then Serling goes, "Oh, we're gonna get hit for that."
Yep.
Just when we were cleared, that would have been a perfect time to just add it in, and you've cemented what the licensing issue was. But I thought it was really good. Yeah, you pointing out they've set up the protester,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of felt like it came from out of nowhere.
You did.
But
Yeah.
but you're also going, oh, okay, well, they're selling data, and anytime there's attention being put on something, there's going to be somebody using that to send their own message. So it's not an unbelievable scenario. They referenced, oh, the bikes aren't the building, everything is not quite what it looks like. It kind of looks a little shinier than it is, and I thought, no, I think they've kind of contained it all in there to where you're feeling like you're ready to see where this goes with the.
Like, well, yeah, you're curious as to how is he going to pull this off. Like, okay, he's trapped them on the bikes. They're in their room, and he's got a bomb threat on par. How long can this hacker make this thing last before everybody else gets an upper edge? And
Yeah.
I will say one of the things that I did like is that even though this one room is locked down, all the other ones are still open, and
It's not the class.
and Kyle and Sid and Melissa, they're all coordinating to basically evacuate the building. And they're doing like, okay, full refunds or rebooking of classes, apologize profusely, say it's a power issue or a glitch or something. Just get him out here while the police are kind of on their way. And I'm like, okay, cool. So there's a little bit of responsibility here. But at the same time, because they're live streaming this on their subscribers, and of course, because Brooke is also streaming this from her phone, Serling sees this as an opportunity because as he's watching the stock kind of go down because people are like not happy with the product, this attention has started to make the stock kind of level out and then start to go up. And then, of course, he's kind of drooling with power and excitement because even though this is a terrible situation on one hand, it's saving his company. And I thought that was kind of interesting of how, and it's also a little bit of a commentary, how sometimes, even a person that you might hate, if something is being done to them that's not unjust, it kind of does motivate a lot of people to rally behind them and support them. And
You at least accept what he's doing and why he's doing it. It's not contrary to who he is,
right,
and who he's being shown to be.
exactly.
So you don't hate him for it. That's what he is. I mean,
yeah, he's business first, and he's putting that ahead of his customers, but at the same time, doing everything needed to make it look like he's putting his customers first, because as this is already happening, Jamie, he's able to talk to this hacker who's only coming in through text message. So there's no dialogue box for the hacker at all. It's all done in the description lines. And Jamie realizes, okay, this hacker wants money, and how much, and first he says $1 million, and then Jamie's like, oh yeah, we can get that for you, and then he changes it to $1 billion, and then back to 10 million. And Jamie's like, well, that'll take some more time, and of course you get the whole ticking clock, which is you have until the end of class.
I liked that part. Just this amount, no, scratch that. This amount, no, scratch that. Oh wait, no, let's settle on this. It was kind of like, all right, what is somebody playing with them?
Yeah,
not sure. But it was kind of had a tense humor moment.
It did, but then it also set up like, one of my favorite gimmicks to use in a story is having a ticking clock. Okay, yeah. You've got to the end of class. How long are these classes? They're 30 minutes. How many minutes are we into? We're in 5. We're 5 minutes into class, and of course, Jamie asks like, well, what if we can't get the money in time? And the hacker just sends a whole bunch of explosion emojis, and this kind of causes everyone to sort of freak out a little bit. And immediately that's replaced with stop slacking. And then everybody has to start pedaling harder and harder because we've got this fret that nobody knows what's going on. And what I thought was actually quite clever, and also another kind of commentary on social media, is Brooke. She pipes up. She says, "You know what, Jamie? I got you. I've started a GoFundMe called Save Jamie, and we can raise the money before the end of class."
Yeah, another cliche moment, but also it fits into the script and fits into the character, and well, and it also even ties back to earlier. You know, put your phones away, but of course she's not.
Mm-hmm.
Half the people there are trying to stream it for their own attention. So that's another commentary on our
current day society of sorts. Yeah, at least a section of it.
It means just don't get caught.
Yeah,
or do what you're gonna do.
Oh yeah, and Oh, go ahead, please.
I was just saying this, the GoFundMe, I thought that was funny.
Oh, I thought that was funny too, especially like, I mean, yes, in recent weeks there's been some GoFundMe things that have really blown up and people are complaining about it, but I will say, like, it just kind of strikes something interesting about certain areas of streaming culture and also certain areas of just social media culture. You know, in a crisis, someone's going to set up a GoFundMe. Whether the crisis is authentic or not, it's going to be set up, and then, you know, now you got to scrutinize it, and everybody out in the world should be scrutinizing that as well. But one of the things I like next, yeah, please go ahead.
I was just going to say, and then in those situations, it's always someone will do something just because you told them not to do it,
right?
And then that is a level unrelated to the original intent. Mm-hmm. You get all these degrees of separation, but yet they're all tied into the same event.
Exactly. And what I liked here is how they keep the threat alive pretty consistently, but then this hacker decides he's going to start torturing Jamie on a more personal level. So it's not just the physical of, like, you guys have to be pedaling for your life, but I'm going to torture you, the host of this show, so that you are suffering physically and mentally. And this is where he basically says, like, you know, you start tell people what you did. And Jamie doesn't know how to respond, and he's kind of nudging him. He's like, "Oh, you mean Steve, my boyfriend?" He's like, "Yeah."
You need to specify. I've done a lot of things. Yeah. People just don't know.
Oh yeah. I mean, and this part here goes on to build up Jamie as, like, yeah, a very flawed character, but also a little bit empathetic. And he talks about his fear of commitment, and how he was very worried about what it would mean to be, you know, in that relationship long term. Given the fact that he himself is not the best person, like, he's good at his job here, he's able to motivate people, but he's questioning whether he's authentic or if he's living a lie. I like how it's not just the Pelotons that are in control, but even, like, parts of the building. So, like, air vents are, like, shutting down, and so the rooms are getting hotter because there's no air conditioning coming in. And
thermostat locks, everything's so controlled that it's all believable.
Yeah, it's all automated and it's all hackable. And all this is happening as, like, okay, everybody's now been shuffled out of the building except for the essential people in the control room, Serling, Kyle, Melissa, and now the LAPD and SWAT have come in. And they're sweeping everything. Melissa, of course, hands the smoke bomb to the detective, whose name's Silvana Garcia. She's a late 50s, you know, seasoned workaholic type of fierce determination character. She's kind of played pretty minor through this, which I'm like, because they didn't do a huge narrative switch when they introduced the authorities here.
Yeah, she comes in so late in the game they can't go too heavy on it, but they also couldn't introduce her earlier, so they couldn't really rely too much, just more a little mid-act confrontation, or moving things forward as expected.
Exactly.
You know, she does all the cliche things of, there's always an officer, take this to the station, go find it, you know.
Yeah,
kind of
like she's the
Please.
extra. She's the extra voice that basically asks the questions that we, the audience, would be asking at this point, and a chance to try and get some more information.
Yeah.
And
Does all that.
but she's a pretty decent character too, because she was quick to, like, snap back on anything Serling would be saying.
Yeah. There was only one line I didn't like because I thought it didn't flow.
Mm-hmm.
And it was we'll be getting to it. I don't necessarily want to jump ahead. I'll bring it up when it comes up and I'll tell you.
Okay, yeah, sure. We can do that
because it's only a small part further down the script.
Oh yeah, you're talking like towards the end of the second act, right?
Probably, yeah. I get 52, I think.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's not too far away because all we're doing right now is we're getting a confessional from Jamie, where it's basically, I was a bad boyfriend. I had my own problems, but I'm also going to try and motivate the class because he's saying, okay, like the hacker is changing the terms of the ride, and so he basically says, okay, so to heck with it, no F's given of sorts. When life hands you lemons, you rise out of your saddle and pour some vodka into that drink. It's weird. It's a weird twist on some of those other cliches, but it's also entirely done to get motivated.
It's working for his character.
Yeah, it totally works with his character. But he does get one. He gets one type of. We get that one moment, kind of like in Speed, where someone gets injured and they're like, "Can you let us get this person some medical attention?" And that happens pretty soon when one woman she can't maintain the new rhythm, and I think her leg gets broken and she nearly falls off while her legs are kind of still pedaling on there, and the dad fan is able to reach over and kind of help her up, but I think they cut out, she gets her her thigh or her calf cut open.
Yeah, it comes around and slips, eviscerates her calf.
Oh yeah, and I'm like, ooh, that would look great.
Dislocate your hip and I got a really Final Destination vibes reading that.
Yeah, I was thinking, oh, that's how you get things really serious. You really kind of show, okay, yeah, this guy, it's not enough that he's able to control the basics, but he can actually mess individual pelotons so that people can get injured. And so, yeah, this is the first point where they're like, okay, yeah, Jamie, you can actually disembark from your bike just to help her quick. No one else can come in the room, so the door opens and a medic hands Jamie some medical supplies, some gauze and some bandages, and he tends to the woman, and she gets escorted out. And then Jamie, I was expecting a cliche of Jamie looking at the door as if it was tempting him to just flee, but the writer skipped that entirely. He just got right back on the bike, strapped himself back in, and went back to it. And I'm like, oh, all right, so this guy is taking everything seriously. He's not trying to tempt or risk the other people
to save himself.
And I thought that was a pretty interesting moment. So at that point here, I think we can throw it back to you on what you wanted to talk about, because we're kind of in that section now.
They are talking. So I liked all the characters. I felt like they were consistent, and I felt like they unique. They behaved the same way through. Detective Garcia comes in so late into the script, but that's kind of where she has to. But and this is also where you're starting to see a little bit with Melissa, where her experience, as we're seeing through the class, she's been whipped around. This is her first week. She's getting a little bit more, oh, hey, I know what to do in this situation.
Yeah.
And it's it's rolling naturally. And so you've got Detective Garcia, Kyle, Serling, and Melissa, and they're all they're doing the typical evacuate the building. Who anyone in that room could be the bomber. They're working on answering all the questions, like you said, that the audience would be asking. And the only part that I really just didn't like, and I felt like it had to be inserted into the script, was Garcia's talking to Serling, and she says, okay, who else would have access to the room? He goes to the instructors after hours. I guess any employee can access them. And she says, and then she turns to Melissa and says, I want to know everything there is to know about each one of these instructors. And Serling says, "We've performed extensive background checks. We groom these instructors, even tell them how high to jump." I mean, that fits Serling's,
Yeah.
we know everything. But he also is kind of cut some corners, but you kind of do go, well, he's good at what he does do, So he's not totally incompetent. And then she says, maybe you missed something. And he goes, look, I'm not telling you how to do your job. And I felt like he was switching. He's just being interrogated,
Yeah.
They're asking questions. He's saying this, he's doing that. But that line kind of felt like it came out of nowhere because I didn't think he was telling her how to do his job. If in anything, she was insinuating he didn't know how to do his job, which was earned based on what we know. And then she says, oh, I thought you were only mansplaining. And I felt like that was the only thing that just didn't feel like it fit. I felt like it had to be put in there.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know if he was. I mean, if a cop's talking to you, he's not telling her how to do her job. I didn't see that in the script that he was saying, hey, this is what you, other than he says, I'm not telling you how to do your job. No, he hadn't. So when I was on my little cliche hunt, writing them all down, that one stood out. And I was also justifying why they all fit. And I was sitting there going, I don't see any situation where he is telling her how to do her job.
No,
he just
you're right, because he's answering her questions. He's saying, like, he is using subtext to say whoever is doing this has circumvented our extensive due diligence and background checks. So even if we try to find them, it's going to be hard. Like, that's what he's conveying. And I think what the writer did here mistakenly is he took that subtext as something that Detective Garcia was able to pick up on a bit too obviously, and then decided, oh, I only thought you were mansplaining. And then, of course, his thing was like, detective, come on. And
I mean, if you were going to do that, at least have him be doing something like, you're not doing enough.
Yeah, complaining.
And at least be doing that, or saying how she's not doing the obvious, but that only would have made her look like she would have had to have not been doing.
We'd had to have seen her being incompetent as opposed to what we've seen so far, which is she's going through all the procedural checks. Everything is being done, as it should. Yeah. Everyone's complying. And as she's putting out feelers to try and figure out who this bomber is, you have Serling basically saying, you can do that, but we've covered our bases there as well. So, I don't think you're going to find what you need there. Maybe look somewhere else or something. And I think I could see how that plays out, but it might be a whole, like, pull you out of the immersion moment there, because I feel like that line just doesn't quite jive.
I rolled my eyes because I didn't feel like it was earned, and it's also overused.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's good examples where you do have a guy treating a colleague, a stranger, or anyone like, I got to tell you how to, what's really going on in the situation. Those always happen in these situations where there's people in trouble, and somebody just starts pointing out the obvious, and everybody's kind of looking at them like, yeah, we're all here with you. We see what you see, and it's kind of, implied. So all I had to do was add that to it, and it could have been earned, but I felt like that. To me, it felt like that had to be put in there.
Yeah, it felt like the writer wanted that put in there as opposed to, like, organically making it make sense. Which was only one of two areas that I found that threw me off, because the second one we're getting pretty much close to, because as the police are kind of like scouring around and looking through records to try and figure out what's going on, they find the video footage of the hoodie guy, and they realize that he put the smoke bomb in the locker. Maybe this hoodie guy is actually the hacker, but they're unsure. And then all of a sudden, all the power, well, not the power, but all the lights go out. And so you don't really have much, like, they're all in darkness except for, like, the glow of the S for the Spins company. And of course now the hacker is trying to, he's showing video that he's captured of Jamie somehow.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, Jamie doing drugs, Jamie doing, like, a bunch of drunk and he's drunk, and the video, a part of me is picturing, that old viral video of David Hasselhoff when he's trying to eat the hamburger on the floor, shirtless. Like, I figured there's some version of that Jamie was doing in here.
Boy, that one brings you back.
That I really pulled that one from a while ago.
But that one is pretty impactful. I mean, one of the most popular guys.
One of the most popular guys, and his daughters pleaded with him to not be drunk anymore, and I think that changed his life around for the better.
Yeah.
But this pushes Jamie to kind of admit that, yeah, he's a screw up and he doesn't deserve the success nor the fandom or anything that he's got. And all of this is happening while Melissa is kind of like going through the security logs, and we find out that, yeah, she's a graduate in computer sciences and programming, and the only reason she's doing this is because she was inspired by Jamie and she wanted to work with this guy. Just to showcase how influential and powerful this person is, someone has left their field of study to get a grunt job just to work at a company of their heroes. And I completely understand this because I've seen a lot of people in my life do that, where they have like a clear path goal to a very stable career, but they're just so enamored with someone within a celebrity circle or someone doing something great in another field that they kind of just drop everything and say, I gotta follow this person. And they go. And some of them turn out really well, and some of them they, say, I wasted about 5-6 years of my life, and now I'm gone back to what I was going to do in the first place. But some people need to do that, need to explore that. So Melissa ends up figuring out, like, okay, so this hoodie guy signed in as like Hunter Dunn, and as she's typing away, we get a name for this character that kind of comes out of nowhere. I guess it's supposed to be implied that it's through the logging files, but we get this name of Billy Kershaw, and this is what made me stop, because I'm like, okay, well, where did this name come from? Like, we got no hints from it. There's no setup to it. She just kind of pulled it out of the digital air, so to speak. And
did it continue to?
Yeah. Like, I just didn't. I was like, okay, I had to stop here. I got to read. Did I miss something? Did I go back? But they're just kind of trying to figure out who this person is. And apparently, like, this guy had a one-off, a huge fan of Jamie's, and had like a one-off interaction and a transaction from like Venmo or something. And then at some point, things are kind of going nuts. Melissa stumbles to the ground, and she sees a USB stick sticking out of the back of a server computer, and she points it out to Kyle, and Kyle's like, well, that's not supposed to be there. So he goes underneath and he unplugs it, and then all of a sudden the hacker stops talking, and it looks like we have a window until Kyle puts the USB back into his laptop to try and figure out what's on it. And then we get this really creepy text that says, "You unplugged me, Kyle." And I thought that was pretty cool, because how would this hacker know exactly that it was Kyle that did this, unless he has eyes in the control booth, right?
Right.
So I'm like, okay, raise the stakes.
Where's the control room?
Yeah. So like this kind of brought me some intrigue. It's like, okay, so the guy's not just watching the cameras that are in the studio. He's got some sort of monitoring device in the control booth. So I thought that was a pretty good twist.
Yeah. And it's a small nitpick, but more that when you brought it up that she was what she had done, I felt like they kind of resolved. They pushed the USB stick and what she could do, and getting that name in such a quick fashion. It wouldn't have been out of reach for someone to be already investigating that earlier, like at the beginning of when they took over.
Yeah.
To say, okay, who's been in the building? Check out everybody who's been in the building. Someone could have been working on that. And then you've kind of got in real time, it's happening over a matter of a few minutes, not just all of a sudden I needed to know who this was. This is who it is. This is how they found it. It was kind of too fast. And you don't even have to change anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just spread it out. And it would fit.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some stuff that felt rushed here. I did like how once we got that whole "you unplugged me, Kyle" part, the next eerie text was the hacker asking for Detective Garcia to sort of step out of the control booth and come into the studio to a degree and take a look at the images on the monitors because, like, personal stuff of hers popped up. Photos of her as a mom singing to her kid during their child's birthday, her graduating from the academy, various newspaper clippings, all this type of stuff here. And she's like, well, like, how do you know this? And it goes into what was mentioned earlier by the protester about collecting and selling data, where it says it's out there, everything can be found, you just have to know where to look. And I'm like, oh, cool. All right, so we got someone that's really trying to play head games with everybody, not just focused on Jamie, so there's not an obsession there necessarily, but it's really just more like a power move. And I like the fact that when they get the information on Hunter Dunn, they learn that Hunter Dunn is the name of Jamie's father, who is no longer alive, kind of self-deleted, and caused a whole kerfuffle in the family. So they have no clue who this guy is. And then when they find out that it's this Billy Kershaw guy, and that he received money from Jamie via Venmo, they're trying to figure out, like, well, why would Jamie pay this guy for something? What is it? Is it a vice? Like, we don't know. And then Melissa's like, well, I think he paid him to put the smoke bomb in the locker. It's like, well, why? Like, nobody can make sense of that. And Melissa's trying to put together, and even she can't make sense of it, because the motivation just is not on the radar for anybody, right? Like, well, why would Jamie sabotage himself and his show for this?
And he's had to pay people off over years, and maybe that's what it was,
Yeah.
And she's seen a little bit more into his weaknesses.
Oh yeah, like because they bring up when she sees him with all, like, the pharmaceuticals. She's wondering, okay, are those narcotics? And then Kyle's like, no, he takes a shot of insulin before every ride so he can lose another pound or so. Makes it look like the bikes are more useful than they actually are, type of thing. And then the other part too is, like, Sid saying he didn't pay this kid to put a smoke bomb in here. That's stupid. He probably just paid off a debt.
He could have brought him. He could have brought him the insulin. He could have
brought him the insulin or something. Like, yeah, like they're entertaining all these other ideas. And the other part being is that, well, if Jamie was going to do something with that smoke bomb, it clearly didn't work, because now he's being held hostage by this hacker, and the hacker says that there's a bomb in the building, but it might not be anything related to that smoke bomb at all. So there's all this doubt being thrown around as to what is going on. And it's being fairly well crafted by the screenwriter. Like, he's balancing, like, the questions that are being brought up with answers that are very believable based on what's been established in the script so far. Nobody really knows anything outside of Serling about the loan shark, and Serling's not going to tip that hand, because that's his one way of controlling Jamie. Like, Jamie can't leave or do anything so long as Serling's kind of got him by the chutzpah there. and I thought, okay, so this is pretty interesting. And then Melissa kind of realizes that, hey, Serling, company stock is going up, and you're getting tons of investors, and this is the best PR you could ever hope for the company. Is like, yep, turning lemons into lemonade. Yeah, she's also said, like, subscriptions alone just to watch today's show tripled. And basically she's doing the quick math, and she's like saying, yeah, even the money that you're getting for this this hacker, this $10 million, you've already collected 30 within the last 20 minutes. And so he's pretty happy by that. And so we're waiting for the money to kind of, like, he sent out a gopher by way of like the LAPD and SWAT to go pick up cash, of course, in a duffel bag with stipulations of like no ink bombs inside or anything of that nature to compromise it. And all this time we're getting kind of Jamie just pouring his heart out about how bad of a person he is.
Yeah, and he's taking digs at the company, which is also making Serling cringe, but he's also watching the stock in real time, realizing, oh, well, I mean, it's not hurting for everything bad he says about us, and he has that brilliant idea to ditch, make a public statement they're going to ditch selling private information because they don't need to anymore.
Right.
And you know what? I actually like that because I like a good bad guy. I like a good, maybe partial antagonist.
Yeah.
But at least if they're consistent, yeah, he might be obsessed with money and selfish and controlling, but he's consistent about what he does and why he does it, and he's not dipping out of his character. He can at least, being a bad guy doesn't have to be completely incompetent.
Nor does it have to be unmotivated. Like, because this part here, all of his evil actions within this script is about keeping the company afloat. And he's basically saying, he's constantly in negotiations. He's like, okay, I can trade off this thing for something a bit more profitable. And that's what he's doing. He's basically saying, oh, we just tripled our subscriber base. Well, I'm going to make a public statement saying that as of this moment now, we have learned our lesson. We're no longer going to be selling private data to the highest bidder. And he knows that such a statement, in addition to the boost in subscribers, will actually warrant him more subscribers now. So he's already tripled his subscriber base, and now he's thinking, oh, I can actually increase it even more now that I'm saying that, because people are probably able to realize that we tripled our subscriber base and that I've gone out publicly and said we're no longer selling personal data, then all those new subscribers know that their data through their system is safe and it's not going to be sold, which means more people are going to go, oh, I can join this one instead of all the others. And it's a business strategy which appears ethical on one hand, but it's really just customer manipulation to sign up for his Peloton classes and all that stuff, which I thought is like, okay, yeah, there's a consistency with him. He's manipulating his customer base to get them to sign up for his useless product.
Yep, and yeah, no, I mean he's consistent. He's solid throughout the whole thing. You don't have to like or agree with everything he would do, but you understand it.
Yeah, well, I mean that's what makes a great villain, is the fact, like, being evil for evil's sake is boring unless it's like a comedy, because then it's the idea is that it's deliberately a joke. But like when you give the villain like a motivation, which doesn't have to be compelling, it just has to be something that the audience understands. Very simple. It's like, this guy, he put a lot of money into this company. He wants to make a profit back, and he does not care who he steps on to get it. Boom, easy, understandable. It's not sympathetic. It's not anything. It's just this guy, from his point of view, look, this is how he's going to achieve his goal, and it's going to come at the expense of anyone who gets in his way. And it's like, yep, that's a good villain, a believable antagonist, one that you can completely understand and you kind of want to root against. But at the same time, when he's doing good stuff, it's like, oh, you just kind of like to hate him.
Yeah. You gotta like to hate people, some of these guys. Yeah.
And I just like the fact that he's this type of guy who, he has no insecurities about being this type of person. He just does not care.
Profit oriented.
Yeah,
he has no problem, matter what.
No matter what. And so as all this kind of good news, all this good news is coming in for Serling, and Jamie and the class are kind of wrapping up towards their end, we get this funny little thing from Brooke, who's like, so far we've gathered up $54,000, Jamie. Jamie's like, thank you, Boo. Thank you to everyone. We really appreciate it, but we're hoping that this isn't going to go that far. The police show up with the duffel bag full of money, and of course the the hacker says, okay, I want Jamie to carry it somewhere else. Like, it's not going to, the drop off is not yet revealed. And so the bikes turn off, the people are released. Jamie has to go over to the bag, and the hacker has now hacked his phone. So he's looking on his phone. He's getting his instructions sent to him directly, and he's like, "Take this to the roof."
Yeah, the typical. Okay, so is it gonna be a helicopter?
Helicopter, yeah. Like, what's going on here? Is there someone on the roof waiting for him? Like, what's the deal? But we have to kind of call it there on the spoiler talk, on the script talk, because that gets into spoilers.
Yep.
But it's a pretty. I will say this. It's a solid twist. I wasn't disappointed by it.
No, I wasn't either.
And I will say I did really like the ending, a lot. I thought there's something very poetic about it.
Yeah. And it's consistent to what is presented.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it feels right in line. Like, you don't feel like you've been hoodwinked or lied to or deliberately misdirected with something that comes out of nowhere. Like, no mystery boxing or any of that type of stuff. None of that's in this script.
No, not really. No. If it's, cast well, made well, any flaw that they have will be overlooked, because not everything has to be perfect to still be really enjoyable.
Oh yeah, like, I will say this for basically a movie in a single location. Had solid stakes, had lots of juicy stuff for Jamie to, as a character, for an actor to kind of sink their teeth into. And it can be done very quickly on a modest budget. This is like, a Blumhouse film or an A24 type of film. I'm surprised it rated so low on the blacklist at like 64. But but Jake, yeah, share me some of your thoughts, your final thoughts on Ride or Die.
Yeah, the hook originally, I liked it. I liked the idea. It actually didn't go the way I thought it. I pictured like they would actually see a bomb, there something, but that's just me just filling in the blanks from reading the synopsis and the log line and what was set up. But I wasn't disappointed with what I saw. Like I said, I went on that cliche hunt, and every time I saw them enough to write them down, they didn't bug me. They just kind of more made me laugh. And since this show has a strong online presence, and it's then part of the plot is, existing in online and in social media. So no, that's the crowd you're appealing to. All the characters were consistent. Couple of minor fixes, but really, even if it was presented the way that it was, a director might see it and go, "Oh no, I can make that work just exactly as is." And it might be better to have something go fast paced or rather than stretched out. No, I could see a show that I would only say I don't think tension and thrillers. This kind of a thriller. It is, but anytime there's hostages and stuff, I think those should be in a theater where you can't pick up your phone. Because if you start picking up your phone or pausing to answer the door or go to the bathroom or, for any other reason, you're just going to pull yourself out of it. So that would be my only caveat there, is only put it in the movie theater. This would be a great one for an actor that you want to promote. You could have an actor that might have a great image, and you put Jamie, and then, where he might be a stretch for him, because at the end, I'm not giving away any spoiler, you might see some twists that you didn't expect, but also you get to see human side of him. And it'd be a good one for like a smaller name actor to be have just a small breakout role. Melissa would be a good actress to have hired. Somebody, any person in there doesn't have. You could have peppered in with a couple of good character actors that you recognize. Some really good promotion, and I think you just have a good, solid movie.
Oh yeah, like when I was reading this, I was thinking like Sid Serling could be played by a guy like Kevin Pollak. He was a big character actor. He was in like A Few Good Men. He was the third attorney with the Demi Moore and Tom Cruise. The guy who has he does all those like funny stand-up impressions as well.
He's so good.
Like he'd be pretty good. Jamie Dunn, you get like an unknown young actor. Same with like Melissa and Brooke, and then like even like the dad fan, you could probably get someone in there like Ty Burrell from Modern Family. Like he'd get into that because he also like he has that range where he can be funny as well, but he can also be kind of serious and a bit of a douche, like in like how he was in the remake for Dawn of the Dead. So like you can see that type of stuff there. This is definitely ripe to get some really good talent on it. So yeah, I have to tip my hat to the writer there. So Jake, let's not waste any time. Is this a green light or a pass for you, sir?
It's a green light. It's a green light.
Yeah, same for me. This is one of those types of contained thrillers that it would be a shame to catch it on streaming because it should be a theater experience. But I still think that if you were to see it on streaming, you'd still enjoy yourself. Like it doesn't feel like it would be it doesn't feel like it'd be constrained by it being a streaming film.
Yeah, I personally like for just date night movies a good thriller because I mean romance and comedy, those are always, they should always be an option, but sometimes I like thrillers because you don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
There's plenty of months where you can put a movie in like that and you're not competing with anything, but there's a lot of people that are just, sometimes they're students or they're just young couples that are just like, they don't fit into the trends of this is when people go to the movie. They're just breaking away. There's always that audience for it. Don't try and hide it into a bad month and, know what you got and promote it such and just have fun. The script wanted to entertain.
It did. Oh yeah, that was.
It didn't want to preach. Didn't want to promote anything. Like I said, it references a lot of stuff, but that's more for fun.
It's definitely more for fun, and it's also like it's a really good example to basically say, oh, this is how you do those types of characters justice. You don't make it worse for the types of demographics these characters are representing. You just make it feel authentic, and you make it feel human. Like you don't try to elevate them to on a pedestal, and you don't try to bury them down into the dirt. You're just like, this is the person. It doesn't matter that he's gay. He's a screw up just for being a screw up, and he's trying to get his life back together. And look at how human he is. Like it's because his sexuality is completely not on the forefront. It's the fact that he has commitment issues. He's a recovering addict. He's in debt. He's feels like he's a fraud or an imposter syndrome stuff. So all these types of things that have nothing to do with his romantic relationship or his sexual preference, but it shows that his actual character flaws are tangible, relatable to some degree, or enough for people to understand and empathize with, and you don't even care about the rest of it because it doesn't cross that bridge into preachiness or identity politics or any of the stuff that lesser writers would normally fall into.
Yeah, and especially I'm sure there's a lot of pressure to do that, especially to get the looks. But yeah, I mean. And a show you could change the identity of somebody and change all sorts of things on it and just stay within the frame and no one's gonna. I mean, no one thinks twice. No one ever did think twice. They don't go to the movie to see something. They go to the movie to be entertained and have a good time.
Yeah, and also get some interesting ideas. Like sometimes there's inspiration, or sometimes it's all like, man, I mean, the commentary with regards to social media on this, which is done so well. Because it is making a point. Like there's certain levels of obsession with social media that can be considered unhealthy. There's also certain levels of adoration to celebrities regarding if it's a Peloton, a motivational speaker, an actor, a singer, a author, a director, news anchor, whatever it is. There's always that little threshold where it's like maybe you shouldn't be putting all your eggs in one basket in that regards, no matter how bad your life is. But it is always good to have like one step in the right direction of, okay, you got a hero, he's getting you on your path, but don't get so lost in that person's influence that you kind of forget the responsibilities that you have to yourself and to your family and to your own goals. And I like that because it was woven very, very cleverly throughout the story, and it made me kind of think, it's like, yeah, you know what, sometimes, like especially the GoFundMe stuff and the live streaming of your entire life all the time, it's like, it doesn't matter that they're going to some places in person. They're doing it for the live streaming. They're not doing it for themselves, and they're not doing it for anything other than selfish reasons. And it makes you have to question, like, okay, how much time do I spend on the internet? Am I being social in the ways that are healthy to me, or am I being antisocial through social media? Right? Like all these questions kind of pop up through this script. That's basically a hostage situation.
Well, and they refer to, people talk about audience capture, but, that's affects the creators. But what about when you are the audience and you get captured by the message that,
oh yeah,
I have to hate things, or I have to like this, or, and where you almost feel pressure, well, I used to enjoy this.
yeah.
Now, but and then some things you do see and you're like, oh, okay, you know what? Now I don't see that anymore that way, but I don't have to put everything in that bubble and be suspicious of everything.
Right.
I can just turn it off. And, I had a particular week where I was just busy.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother's on vacation, and we have a business together, and I wasn't on social media much, but there was actually a lot of things going on, like the Superman trailer. I couldn't wait to see it. But as I found myself being further away from social media, where I might have a lot more time in a normal week, it annoyed me when I went there, and it made me realize that's not where that you can see the things that you can see it for what it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is just people yelling at clouds.
Oh yes, like sometimes you'll find something that's very profound, and you're like, oh, this is actually useful. This is a thought or something I didn't think of before. And then the other parts you see, what you said, people just yelling at clouds, so to speak, or whatever.
The longer you stay in, the more you get affected.
Yeah, absolutely. Because and this was this had this really clever commentary on it. And I dug that. So let's check in first on the Patreon side of things. So yeah, I have to first apologize to the Patreons. The poll only went up earlier today. The post went up last week to comment on it, but I screwed up with the poll, so I had to correct that. So I apologize that. However, we do have a few people that did vote. They're in the same boat that we are, Jake. They greenlighted this as well. So this is good. Like, we've had a number of good scripts back to back that are greenlight, with last week's being the exception to the pattern, so to speak. So I mean, I'm liking that we're getting some people that are some writers that are throwing in some stuff that seems to be resonating with this corner of the internet, which is great. So for anyone that's listening that is a Patreon, every Monday we announce what script we're going to be reviewing, and then we throw in a poll there for you to choose whether you would greenlight or pass on it. Please, if you're so inclined, leave a comment so that we can discuss it in this part of the show, because everyone out there should have some insights. Doesn't matter what you say. We always like listening to different opinions on a script, or things that you liked or things that you didn't like, what have you. Please share that out there so we can have some more interaction with you and get you guys more involved in the show between myself and the co-host of every week. Now on for the live side of things, we have a super sticker from the Dead Man for 99 cents. It's a poop emoji. Thank you so much, Dead Man. That's your calling card here, and we really appreciate that. That seems to be all we got on that front there. So before we call it a show, Jake, any final thoughts on Ride or Die? anything that you want to address that maybe just popped in your head in the moment that we can do before we sign off?
I think it pretty much said it all. It was a good read. You guys get a chance to read it.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll, and I hope it gets made.
I do too. So yeah, for anyone out there, you can Google the script and most likely find it. But if you are having difficulties, just reach out to me on the Twitter X's there at Script Doctor PhD. I'll be happy to get the script into your hands. And as always, please not try to make it go viral or do anything uncouth with it. Just enjoy the read. And if you have comments or something, please leave them here. We'll be happy to address those in future episodes. And hopefully we'll get an announcement in the next year or so that Ride or Die might be getting made, because that would be really, really cool. And we can just add that to the list of all the other scripts that we've covered over the last season and a half that are currently in production since we've already covered them. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm excited for that one.
Yeah. Oh, especially having
Nick Cage,
wow.
Nick Cage and Kristen Bale. Like that's a duo, man.
That is cool. That's gonna be fun.
That is gonna be fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to when that comes out, because I definitely want to do a script to screen comparison with everyone that gave Madden a read and shared their thoughts on that, because that'll be a fun show. We'll see how much. I think it was David O. Russell. He's directing it. See how much he changed of the script for the final product.
Hopefully there's a lot more of them.
Oh yeah, I'm hoping to.
That's kind of the point.
Exactly. So that's it for tonight. Thank you so much, Jake, for hanging out as always. Love your insights, love your thoughts, loved how you were able to catch all those cliches. That was a great point. Good eye for that, sir. We'll be back again next week with another hopefully fun script, and hopefully a double green light script as well. I want to thank everyone out there for supporting the show, the channel, the Patreon, all of those things. I want to wish you all a wonderful long weekend, if it is your long weekend this week. If not, have a great weekend regardless, and we'll see you next time. And never forget, guys, when it comes to great story, it all starts with the script.